Game lab number 2. We're going to plot with rectangles in this assignment. Here is your mission. The main idea is you're going to have to create a house. And there's a few other things that you have to put along with it to get full credit. I want you to notice up here at the top of the handout, which, by the way, will be posted on Google Classroom at the time that I'm recording this movie. It's not, but it will be. Here are the requirements for this. Oh, I was going to say, there's a bonus possibility here for you. If you want to go for it, you don't have to do bonus if you don't want to, but there's some extra things you could throw in for bonus points if you want. All right, anyway, requirements. You're going to have to make it look like there's sky in the background, and that's easy. It's with the background block I'll show you. You're going to have to make some ground. You're going to have to make the main part of the house, which is just a rectangle today. That's all it's going to be. I'm going to show you how to plot and draw rectangles. Have to have a roof, which could be a flat rectangle roof. That's okay, but I might show you a little trick where you could do a triangle if you wish. You're going to have a door on your house, which is a rectangle, and you're going to have to put 2 windows on your house, which is once again a rectangle. All right, so those are the requirements. Okay, and here's the bonus possibilities. If you stick the sun up in the sky using the ellipse block, which we did in assignment number 1, that gets you 5 bonus points right there. Just put it up in the sky someplace. And if you write some code that would put a white fence in front of the house, that says white, and it has to be in front of the house. And you could design the fence kind of however you want. You could do that with rectangles, and that would be 15 more bonus points if you go to that effort. That makes it possible of 20 bonus points. All right, so like I said, go for bonus points if you want to. You don't have to. It's up to you. Got some blocks here that I think you'll need. And things like stroke and no stroke and all that, that's going to be kind of up to you. The ellipse you would only need if you're doing bonus. You'll have to, it's kind of like yesterday, you'll have to, get some code in there and hit run and check it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then change it and keep kind of tinkering with it until you get it to work the way you want it to. All right, let's hop over here. Here's one that is already done. Look at that. All right, I run this program that I wrote. And I did all the bonus, so if my program over here on the right-hand side looks kind of long to you, well, it's because I did all the bonus. I have the fence in there, and I have the sun in there, which that doesn't take very much. But yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm going to hop back over here, and one of the things I want you to know here is, so how do you even do rectangles? And it's not hard, but I want to make sure you understand what's going on with rectangles, and then I'll build a really quick version of the house here and turn you loose. Off you go. All right, so it's going to be a game lab thing. If you go to projects, if you click up here on projects at the top, game lab is listed there, or if you go to the create button, game lab is listed there as well. So you just got to get to the game lab however you want to do it. Just get there. All right, good idea to rename it. I'll call this house. Oh, mercy, caps lock was on. I don't like having caps lock on. House movie demo is what I'll call that. All right, and I'll save that name. It's a good idea to name your projects, and that way when you're looking later, you know what it was. All right, anyway, this draw function thing over here, we don't really need it. You're going to just drag it off and drop it over here anywhere in the toolbox area. Just drag it off and drop it. We don't really have to have it this time. All right, so you're going to need, one of the requirements is you got to have it look like sky. Okay, this is all the things you're going to use are going to be in the drawing toolbox, right? The drawing drawer of the toolbox, whatever you want to call it. So to make it look like sky, I'm going to bring this over and say, I think I'll say sky blue. That is a legal name. It's a HTML color name, and all the HTML color names will work anytime you're working with color. Okay, now here's a thing. Well, let's just do this. Let's just draw a rectangle to begin with and just see how it works, okay? Now, if you're going to fill the rectangle, which you're going to be doing today, you're going to have to bring over a fill color and set the fill color before you draw it. All right, so I'm just going to set this fill color to red, and I'm just showing you right now, all I'm doing is just showing you how a rectangle works. So I'll set that fill color to red. And here is the command for a rectangle. It's RECT. Notice right here, before I pull it over, that the inputs that you put into it are the X location and the Y location. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And the width and the height. X, Y, width, height. A lot of things work like that in this little gaming system or animation system that we have here. So I'm going to bring the rectangle command over. It's going to default to certain numbers. It says 100, 100, 200, 200, but you obviously can change that. So let's just say, just for a moment, that I come along here and I plug in, like, I'll just say, let's go for the X value, let's go over 150, and let's go down 200. I'm kind of making some numbers up. And let's make it like, I'm hitting the tab key there, and let's make it like 300 wide, and let's make it just like 100 high. It's X, Y, width, height. Let me run that program. Okay. Now, so here's what we got. Right, I'm going to show the grid. It's a red rectangle. You see that, don't you? It's filled with red. The rectangle is, now here's what the X and the Y are referring to. If we're looking at our grid here and we go over, that's 100, over 150. So that's over 150 and down 200 right there. Okay. So the X and the Y are the top left corner of the rectangle. You need to kind of file that away in your head because that's how rectangles work. The anchor point, the plotting point, is at the top left-hand corner of the rectangle. All right, so there we go. It's over 150 and down 200 in this case. What's the width of it? Well, it's 300. So actually, this is running off of the edge a little bit here because it's we're over 150, and if you add 300 to that, that makes 450. So it's running right off the edge. And what's the height of it? Well, the height of it is 100. Now, I could change anything about that. I could come over here and say, if I have the same width and the same height, you know what's going to happen, don't you? You have a square. If your width and your height are the same, then it's a square. You also know the dimensions of the screen, don't you? It's 400 wide and 400 high, right? And I say don't you like you should, but if you did lesson number 1, if you remember anything from lesson number 1, then you know that it's 400 pixels across and it's 400 pixels down. So it's a 400 pixel block, whatever you want to call it, this whole thing that we're working on. And so you can see how that's kind of fitting in there. I went over 150 and down 200, and the width is 100 and the height is 100, so I made a square, and it's red. And I could change that. I could come along and say, yeah, let's make it green. So I could just change the color, reset it, and run it, and now I have a green square. That's how rectangles work. Okay, now let's real quickly also look at this. If I come along here and before I draw the rectangle, notice how I put that stroke in there before the rectangle. I'm going to turn off the grid here for a second. I put that stroke blue, and I'm going to change it to black, except I can't even type. I've got to get in there, B-L-A-C-K. All right, I'm going to change the stroke color to black. Okay, there's that. And then I'm also going to throw in a stroke weight right here. And notice how I'm putting it before the rectangle. If you want to change these kinds of things, they have to be changed before you draw it. All of these commands are going to be done from the top down. Right? They're starting up here with the background, and then this fill color is set, and then the stroke color is set, and then the stroke weight is set, and then it draws the rectangle. So if I say, like, give me a stroke weight of 10, and I reset and run this, look at the box now. That has a 10 pixel black stroke around it. It's got an outline. I could change the color of that stroke, right? And I could, if I wanted to, I could pull this out, pull the stroke thing out, and pull the stroke weight thing out, and maybe I want the rectangle to have no stroke. And now look. That green rectangle that I have sitting in there has no stroke at all. It's got no outline. So those are options. You can set a stroke color, you can set a stroke weight, or you can set it on no stroke. That's really going to be up to you on this assignment that we're about to do today. So I'm going to pull this. Well, actually, I'm going to leave that no stroke thing in. I'm going to start building my little quick house that is going to be, an example of what we're talking about here. And I'm going to keep my sky blue background. I'm going to leave my, because I'm going to do the grass now is what my plan is. And I might just switch the order of these. You can switch the order, just drag the blocks around and get them in the order that you want. So I'm going to put my no stroke right there. I'll put my fill green right there. Now, I want this, if I show my grid for a second, I want this to kind of cover the bottom fourth of the screen here. I want this green box. I'm going to have to change its X and Y and its width and its height and all that because I want it to cover this bottom part of the screen. Okay, well, it looks to me like if I go over 0 and down 300 for the top left corner, I'm kind of pointing to it right now. If I go over 0 and down 300, and now how wide is it going to want to be? If I make it, I want to make it go all the way across. How wide does that have to be? Well, we know that it's 400. It's going to have to be 400. How high or how tall is this going to have to be if I want it to go down to the bottom right there? I'm sitting here at 300. So I think 100 is going to do it. Let's reset and run that. Oh, look, I've got grass. Yay. All right. Well, now it's time to start doing a little building here. So what I'm going to do here next is I'm going to switch up the fill color. And my house is going to be tan, but you do whatever you want. And I'm going to make another rectangle that's going to be the main part of the house. So I'll bring over a rectangle command. And I'm going to try this out at about 100. And then I'm going to go down about 170. 170. And then I'm going to make it, and my house, I'm going to make it square, but you know, the thing is, you don't have to do it just like me. This is width and this is height. If you use the same number, you're going to get a perfect square. If you don't use the same number, you would get more of a rectangular shape, and that's okay. It just depends on what you want. You can experiment with that. You can play with it. All right, if I reset that and run it, I now have my house sitting there. Yay. Okay. Now, like I said earlier when I was showing you the handout, you could just put a flat roof on top of that thing. Flat. It's got to have a roof. But you could just put a flat roof like you see out in Arizona or like the Flintstones had. Or if you want to. Because doing a rectangle for the flat roof is not quite as hard, I'm going to show you this. There is a block down here called regular Polygon. So I'm going to set a fill color of gray, and I'm going to bring up the regular Polygon. Now here's how it works. It goes X, Y, sides, and the length of the side. So for the X and the Y, and to be honest with you, I've kind of tested this out ahead of time because I didn't want to spend a lot of time doing hit and miss here. I'm going to go about 175 over about 175, and I'm going to go down 120. And it's going to have 3 sides, all right? So that next number for a regular polygon, it's X, Y, the number of sides, and then the length. This is going to make like an equilateral triangle. You geometry people are with me, right? So I'm going to, and this, I had to try this out more than once to get this to work, but if I reset this and run it, look at what I've got. Now, I did not guess that correctly the first time. I had to play with some numbers. I tried some things that didn't work, so I had to kind of keep changing some numbers until I got it to work the way I wanted it to work. All right. Well, so let's finish this up real quick. It also has to have a door and a couple of windows. So I'm going to bring over a fill color of black. I'm going to make it black. And I'm going to work on my door. My door is going to be black. Okay, well, the door is just going to be a rectangle, so I'll bring over my rectangle command. X, Y, width, height is the key here, so again, not going to lie, I've already tested some things because I didn't want the movie to be super long with me figuring out all the numbers, so I'm going to go, but you may have to do that. I'm going to go over about 150. I'm going to go down for my door. I'm going to go down 250. And I don't want this one to be perfectly square, so I'm going to do it's going to be 50 wide but 70 high. And again, when I reset that and I run it, oh look, it's working. Looky there. The grid helped me figure that out. I have the grid turned on, and it helped me figure that out. All right, so that's doing pretty well. Sorry, I was just thinking about something. So that's doing pretty well. So it's got to have a couple of windows, right? Well, for my windows, I'm going to do a fill color of yellow. And when you bring over a fill color box, you'll notice it defaults to yellow. So I'm happy about that. I'm just going to keep that there. And I'm going to make a rectangle. And my rectangle is going to be over 110 and down 190. And again, sorry, but I did some testing before I started making this movie. These are going to be boxes, so I'm going to make it 40 and 40. If you make something the same width and the same height, it's going to be a square. So I'll reset that and run it. Pretty happy with that window right there. And again, the first time I tried this, that didn't work perfectly. I had to do a little guessing, a little playing around until I got it the way I wanted. But you play with the X value, the Y value, and the size is not quite so hard, right? That's fairly easy. Now I want to draw another one, so I'm just going to bring, no, not an ellipse, sorry. I'm going to bring over another rectangle. And really, in a lot of ways, I've kind of figured this out mostly. It's going to have a different X value. Right, and I want to push it over farther. I think the 190 works if I want the windows to be lined up, and it's going to be 40 and 40. So once you figure out one of them, the other one's not as hard to figure out because all you got to do is really change the X value. You just got to make another window that's pushed over farther to the right. Reset and run that. Hey, look, I got windows. Now, here's the deal, folks. Now the assignment would be done. This is it. Done, done, done. Right? I have a sky for the background. I have grass. That's required. I have the main part of the house. That's required. I have a roof. That's required. I have 2 windows. That's required. And I have a door. And that's required. I've done it. So I could turn this in right now. The rest of it is bonus. And just because this part's really easy, I'm just going to bring over an ellipse here. I'm still going to make this yellow, so I'm going to leave my fill color at yellow. I'm not going to change that. I'll just bring over an ellipse, and I'm going to put this over about 300 and down about 50. And for the width and the height, I'm going to do like 60 and 60. Again, that's going to be a perfect circle because the width and the height are the same. If your width is different than your height, you won't have a perfect circle. You'll get more of an oval kind of thing. So I'll hit reset and run. And look, I got sun up in the sky. So that would get me 5 bonus points. And that wasn't hard. So you could get some bonus points really easy. Now, in this movie, I'm not going to do the fence. I think you saw in my other example here that I do have a fence. And it did, if we're looking right down here, it did take some work. Right, I drew some little thin and your fence wouldn't have to look just like mine. If you're going to try the fence, it wouldn't have to look just the way mine looks. But, a white fence, and it would be the last thing that you draw because you want it to be in front of the house. And it would take a bunch of rectangles, fill it with white, and it would take a bunch of rectangles that are drawn in different locations. And you see a lot of mine. Once you figure out a width kind of thing, that kind of sticks. That just kind of stays put a little bit. See all these 10, 80, 10, 80, 10, 80, 10, 80. Those are those vertical posts of the. And really, the only thing that's changing on every rectangle. See, it's not as hard as you think. The only thing that's changing on every rectangle on the fence is the X value. It's the only thing that changes. So if you're thinking about trying the fence, it's maybe not as hard as it looks to begin with. All right, anywho, that is Game Lab number 2, and you are now off and running.